I'm Nancy Showalter, and you're listening to Spirituality for the Politically Incorrect podcast. Welcome, all radical paradigm shifters and creative change makers. You who dare to create a better life and a better world. Tap into the power that resides within you and use that power for constructive change. Welcome back, my friends. In our last episode, we discovered that true focus is not about discipline or willpower. It's about passion. We saw that when you care deeply, focus comes naturally. And I ended with a truth worth repeating. Passion and focus don't retire. So today, we're going to talk directly to those of you who are retired or approaching retirement. Maybe you've closed the chapter of your career. Maybe the routines that defined your life for decades have shifted. And perhaps you've wondered, where do I fit now? What is my purpose in this stage of life? The good news is this. Retirement isn't an end. It's a beginning. It's a sacred opportunity to realign with what your soul cares about most. I once spoke with a man who had just retired from a long career in engineering. For years, he told me, his focus had been on deadlines, projects, and responsibilities. But now, with no meetings and no boss, he felt adrift. Then one day, he walked into a community center and volunteered to help tutor young students in math. And something clicked. His passion was reignited, not for equations, but for helping children believe in themselves. He said, "I've found more joy in these last few months of retirement than I did in years of work." That's the beauty of this season. The external demands quiet down, and you have space to listen to your heart. But let's be honest, this new chapter isn't always easy. Many retirees face very real challenges. Some experience empty nest syndrome, where children have grown and left home, leaving a silence that feels unsettling. Others struggle because their identity was so wrapped up in their career that without the job title, they feel lost, unvalued, or even invisible. There's also the challenge of shifting routines. The structure of work days and responsibilities disappears. And at first, it can feel like drifting without an anchor. And let's not overlook the subtle societal message that aging means stepping aside, when in truth, wisdom and presence are more needed now than ever. Acknowledging these struggles is important because they're not signs of failure, but invitations. Invitations to rediscover that your worth is not tied to a career, a title, or a role, but to who you are in essence, a beloved soul with a divine purpose that continues to unfold. Spiritually speaking, retirement is not about stepping out of life. It's about stepping deeper into life's purpose. The soul never retires. God's call on your life doesn't fade with age, it ripens. Scripture reminds us they will still bear fruit in old age. They will stay fresh and green. You can find that in Psalm 92, verse 14. The wisdom you've gathered, the experiences you've lived, the compassion you've developed, these are treasures the world needs now more than ever. So how do you discover or rediscover your passion in this season? Reflect on what moves you. Is it mentoring others, creative expression, service in your community, travel, prayer and deeper spiritual study, mentoring or spending time with your grandchildren? Pay attention to what stirs your soul. Notice what brings tears or joy. Just as in earlier life, your emotions are signposts pointing you toward what matters. And experiment with small steps. Volunteer for a cause that matters. Pick up a creative project or simply dedicate each time to doing something you love. Often, passion grows when we give it space. And here's the key. When you align with that passion, focus becomes effortless, even in retirement. It is no longer about filling time. It's about fulfilling purpose. One of the greatest gifts of this season is the treasure chest of wisdom you've accumulated. The lessons you've learned through victories, failures, relationships, and life experience are not meant to stay hidden. Retirement can be the perfect time to mentor others, whether it's guiding young professionals, supporting new parents, encouraging community leaders, or simply being a steady presence for friends and family. When you pour your wisdom into others, not only do you give them the gift of your experience, but you also find renewed focus and joy. Your story becomes a lantern that lights the path for someone else. Here's an example of what I mean. A woman who had been a nurse for over 40 years. When she retired, she felt at first that she had stepped into a void. No patients to care for, no hospital buzzing around her. She said, "I didn't know who I was without my scrubs." But after some time of rest, she began volunteering at a local health clinic, mentoring young nurses who were just starting out. She didn't have the long hours or the stress anymore, but she still shared her wisdom, her calm presence, and her love for people. And she told me, "I feel more alive now than I did when I was working full-time." That's the beauty of mentoring. It's not about doing more, but about being present with the gifts you already carry. And let me say this clearly. Retirement is also a time for rest. If you've spent decades working hard, raising families, or serving others, it is perfectly natural and healthy to take a season to do very little, to sleep in, to travel, to experience other cultures, or simply to enjoy the gift of unhurried time. There is no guilt in rest. In fact, rest is holy. Even God rested on the seventh day. So please don't hear me saying you must keep working. What I'm inviting you into is not more labor, but more living. You may rest, you may play, and when you're ready, you may discover new passions or ways to share your wisdom. Retirement gives you that freedom, the freedom to choose. Too often, retirement is framed as slowing down, fading away, or simply living for leisure. But spiritually, it's a season of harvest. You've sown much in your life. Now you can pour your wisdom, love, and passion into what matters most. Imagine the clarity and energy you'd experience if you spent the majority of your time on the things closest to your heart. That is the invitation of this stage of life, not to retreat, but to shine in a new way. So, if you are retired or nearing it, remember, passion and focus don't retire. They simply take on a new form. The world still needs your fire, your vision, your compassion. This is not the time to step back from purpose. It's the time to live it more fully, more freely, and more joyfully. May you embrace this season as a divine gift, a new chapter where your heart leads the way and your soul finds fresh expression. Until next time, may your passion guide your focus, and may your focus bring you into deeper joy and purpose each day. Thank you for being with me today, and if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, download, and comment. I'd love to hear from you, and your support is much appreciated. And don't forget to go to theawakeningnow.com for free bonuses and information on my new book, You Were Born to Be a Christ, but You Were Taught You Are a Sinner. Awaken to who you really are. See you next week.